Hello, my dudes, and welcome back to the Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm David.
And before we begin, what are you herfing on?
I am herfing on a Anarchy, which was their newest blend. It came out a couple months ago.
Oh, really? I thought that was like an old blend.
I don't think so. I think they just recently released it, or maybe they re-released it.
Oh, maybe.
But
AKA the Edgelord Starter Pack.
Yeah, I'd never had them because they sold out at Ohlone before I deigned to try one. But somebody had some in their locker, and they were like, "You never had this?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." So,
is it a riot?
It's total bedlam. I'll tell you that. It's chaos everywhere. No, I don't know. I just got into it, but he seemed a little taken aback because he was like, "Well, all their stuff is kind of edgelordy." I'm like, "Not really. Like what?
Like their brown labels, not edgelordy."
I'm like, he's like, "Well, maybe like the monsters." I'm like, "Okay, you could argue that like naming something after Halloween characters is kind of edgelordy, but I mean the branding is not."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, well, you know." And I'm like, "I don't know.
Well, the whole little club he had, the Saints and Sinners. And then, like, Anarchy, that's edgelordy.
But the branding for his cigars, I'm like, he's an edgelord for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But his cigars had never been branded that way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't really like the ME or the ME2. I thought they were both pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they weren't great. I don't even know why he released that. It was like a average cigar.
One of them was average. One of them was bad.
The ME2 is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the one that's not good. Mm-hmm. But what are you smoking, an Enclave?
Broadleaf.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's a good standby.
That's the one. That San Lantano Maduro too is on fleek.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So
ran out of like the Kuwavari stuff. You know, I had to go back to the old standards.
Because you don't really like the Cafe Noir, do you?
No, I like it. I smoke them all the time.
Oh, they're just gone?
I just see that section. All the lids are closed, so I'm like,
That was like the only one. Like I came in the other day, and it was like the only Kuwavari they had left. Was
they had
Cafe
like
Noir.
For the longest time, it was like the Cafe and Cafe Noir.
Yeah,
and
they're both good.
Yeah,
we never have the Cafe in anything. It's either like the Petite or the 6x60 here at West Coast, and it's like I don't want either of those sizes.
I like the 60. It's fine. Well, like if you're on shift, that's a great cigar to have.
It's just a 60 ring gauge is too big for me. I want like a 52, 54 maybe. That's fine. But yeah, 6x60 and it loses a little bit of its. You know.
I've been getting more into Churchills now. Like that's my jam now.
Oh, Churchill! Like true Churchills are my jam. Mm-hmm. Like a 47 by 7, 7.5, 48. Like as long as if it's under 50 ring gauge, then. You know, but a lot of Churchills are like 54 ring gauge. Like
54, 55, yeah.
It's not a fucking Churchill.
Yeah, it's just like a
Rona Doble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that 47 ring gauge or the under 50 is like a good mix between like filler and binder plus the length.
Yeah.
So it's like a long enough smoke time to enjoy rather than just having like a Toro or...
And it's not as finicky as a Lancero.
Yes.
You know, and so that's why I tend to like Corona.
What were they called before the Churchills? Like, what was that size considered to
I don't
Cubans?
know. I have no clue.
Oh.
That's a question I've always wondered too. Like, what do they call that? A fat Panatella or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just like that's why I tend to like Corona Gordas a lot. So usually 46, 47, and then usually like 6.5. So not quite as long as the Churchill. Bigger than a Corona, so it's a good size. It's like a Lonsdale, like somewhere between a Lonsdale and a Churchill. But yeah, those are like. Corona Gorda, Lonsdale, True Churchills are like among my favorite sizes of cigars.
Cool. This past week concluded a campaign in D&D. You want to recap what happened?
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we played D&D, me and Mike and Chris Davis, the manager here at West Coast, and got into it. Well, I guess we got into it off and on. We've talked about it a little bit on the podcast before, but started playing more since COVID happened because the three of us kind of have, at least one day a week where we can our schedules allow us maybe 3.5 hours to play, and we're getting to the culmination of this adventure where our plucky heroes, Dragonborn Paladin and Human Ranger, were foraying into this dragon's lair, and I feel kind of bad about it in retrospect. Well, so here's the thing.
I got high hands rolling those 20s, man.
So the culmination of the adventure, for presumably we don't really talk about the details of the adventure so much as kind of what it's like to play D&D and learning the game. But the adventure was an amalgam of quests, like kind of short quests for low-level characters because we start at level 1. And then, once have built up enough strength throughout the entire adventure, the DM is supposed to kind of remind them of this dragon that is set up like its lair recently in the region and is just causing all kinds of havoc. So that's the primary objective of the characters, which is to deal with a bunch of small little brush fires around, basically created directly from that. Dragon moves in, displaces whatever monsters are there. They move down out of the mountains. They start fucking with things, and the PCs are there to kind of clean up. And then once they get enough capabilities, they're supposed to go up and slay the dragon and save the region. And yay, like a fist pump in the air and a freeze frame, and then fast forward to the next adventure. And so that didn't go so well. We get to the culmination.
We got ballsy. We were talking like, yeah, after we kill this fucking dragon dude, I can't even believe this shit.
There was a lot of shit talking. And the characters hit level 5, which is kind of the adventure for 6. And I feel kind of bad the idea in your guys' head a little bit.
Oh, to go after it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, because here's the thing is, so there's an NPC with the party is just Mike and Chris, and so I gave them a non-player character to kind of tag along with them to bolster the strength of their party a little bit. It's difficult to just have 2 people. And so that character has a somewhat distinct personality, but she also kind of tends to be the DM's voice occasionally. And I use that character to kind of put ideas in the players' heads because they're not terribly adept at like D&D, so they just don't know like certain things, options, or considerations, or whatever. They don't think about some things in the framework of a D&D adventure because why the fuck would you? And so I feel like I kind of put it in your guys' head that maybe it was a viable time, and I didn't necessarily think you would heed that, but I was worried that it was going to be too easy. I think I told you this because the creature that was guarding... So one of the minor quests was there was this sword that's said to be entombed with this old elf noble who slayed this dragon, and her sword was entombed with her and is said to have special properties that help people fight dragons. And so, of course, the characters get wind of this and they decide we're going to go sword, and of course the sword is guarded by this, invisible monster, and so like you guys dispatched with that monster, and that monster is the same challenge rating as the dragon, and you dispatched with it pretty handily.
Well, it helped out. Like it was like whoever held the sword was kind of the main target, so it kind of spread. And plus, Chris being kind of the tank of the group could take all those attacks, while we just kind of on the outside just kind of attack this monster.
Sure, but I mean, typically if a monster is that powerful, if it's focusing on one character, it's going to put that character down. If it's tough enough to kill your whole party and it's focusing all its attacks on one character, then it should just fuck that character up. But yeah, the breath weapon is the great equalizer for the fucking dragon. I think is that it's kind of
you kind of foreshadowed the power of having the ice breath, right? A couple times of like the parties, like people like
like frozen and It's definitely a versatile weapon. So they went up there and like, yeah, we can fuck this dude up. We're getting to the end of the tier. Get some more capabilities, got some hit points, and then it was super quick. Like we came up, I totally neglected to even that your mage is just squishy enough that it just killed her outright.
Yeah,
it just killed her. Like there's normally how it works is when you fall to 0 hit points, listeners, is when your character falls unconscious, he rolls a series of death saving throws, which are like you're balancing on the precipice and it could go either way, so it's usually just an even split. So you got to get 10 or higher, and if you do, you get a success, and if you don't, you get a failure. If you accumulate 3 failures before 3 successes, you die. 3 successes before 3 failures. Did I say that the same way twice?
You're about to fix it right now. Say it.
Twice.
Yeah.
Or 3 times, I guess. Then you stabilize. You're not conscious, but you're not dying. Hit points, you regain consciousness after several hours. So, but there's a rule in the game that any amount of damage would put you at negative your maximum hit points. So if you have 20 maximum hit points and something causes 40 damage to you, you go negative 20. 20 is your max. Then it just flat out kills you.
Would that happen if you're like down to 5 hit points and that thing hit you for, your max was 20 and it hits you for 20? Would it?
Negative 15.
Uh-huh.
If it hit you for 25 and your max were 20 and you were at 5, then you would die.
Okay.
I think player characters might get a saving throw, like a Constitution saving throw, to avoid just dying outright. But that's not something that you afford an NPC typically. And so, yeah, I didn't think I'd built the mage to kind of be the glass cannon in the back of the group, but a breath weapon just gets everybody. Yep. It's an area attack, which is why it's so dangerous, because pretty much no matter how big your party is, the likelihood that if that dragon goes before you and before your party can spread out, a 30-foot cone is pretty big.
Yeah.
And that's a young dragon. Ancient dragons have a 90-foot cone.
Oh shit!
A fucking 90-foot. There's like no, you're not safe anywhere on the.
Like turning the corner.
Yeah, it's just no matter where you are. If you're able to see the dragon, basically, an ancient dragon can breathe whatever on you and fuck you up. So that was a great equalizer because it went early. It killed the mage, like just outright killed her right away. And then Chris and Mikey both. One of you guys succeeded in your saving throw.
Yes, I was the only one.
And Chris failed, but even when you succeed, you take half damage. So it's like, they were pretty hurt. Chris's character was up. He decided he was going to teleport out there and hit the dragon, which he did to good effect one time, and then it was just that was it. He attacked Chris. Chris went down. Mikey tried to flee, but the dragon had more attacks. It came in and it just fucked you up. I think it might have fucked you up the next turn, right?
Well, the environment fucked me up, right? I fell down because it was like icy floor.
Yeah.
So I fumbled. Did I fumble? Yeah, I think I did.
You did. You
fell. So I was prone. So I lost some
movement.
Some movement from there. So I couldn't run away.
Yeah.
I was just like at the doorway, and then the thing fucked me up.
Yeah. It's basically just like the dragon went 2 times, and the party was just completely dead.
It's like, oh, that's cool, bro.
And there was really no way for there to be any reasonable out. Like if a gang of bandits or something would kill the party, then they just, kind of like knock you out, and maybe they, hold you captive because they have some reason to do that. That
just rape you or something.
Yeah, just some sort of deus ex machina, right?
Yeah.
Where you want to use those things sparingly, but usually if the party is in a position where they're going up against like a group of bandits, presumably it's because you don't anticipate that they're going to get the ever-loving shit kicked out of them, in which case a few things failed. So it's okay to kind of give them a little bit of a pass sometimes. The important thing is to keep dramatic tension. If the players feel like that'll always happen, then they never feel any sense of danger. Just like it's okay to fudge dice rolls every now and again, if like 2 of the party members are unconscious and there's 1 guy left and he's got 5 hit points left and somebody hits him, 1 guy remains and he's got like 2 hit points left. So the next time the PC goes, he'll kill him almost for certain. And then he hits him for 6 points of damage. And you're like, you could just be like, hit you for 4 points of damage. Just to kind of keep that dramatic tension. And generally speaking, I try not to do that whenever possible because I just try not to throw things at the PCs that are too difficult. But, and I really didn't think that the dragon would be too difficult. But apparently it was really difficult.
You were telling me that it was pretty typical for most campaigns to, like, the campaign to die off at, like, level 1, right?
I would say of all of the groups of adventurers I've ever DM'd for, I would say more than half of them have died before hitting 2nd level.
Oh, wow.
All of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Huh.
It's pretty easy to like misjudge stuff.
So were you surprised like that? Like when we first played, we like did the big no of splitting up the group.
That's a big no.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm gonna fuck these guys up. I'm an adventurer, and I just get fucked up.
You
Like,
got fucked up. Yeah.
It's like, well, he's gonna die.
I was more
All these characters again.
I was more concerned. I didn't think you would necessarily die because you had, you know, an out to flee, and then Chris was still around, and so there was.
Yeah, I got knocked unconscious, and they were taking me.
Exactly, and so, but there was another situation. I think when you guys were in the jail cells.
Yeah.
And you both got knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
And it was like convenient because there were actually jail cells in that dungeon. And it was like, yeah, they probably just toss you in the jail cells. There's no reason for them just to come over and stab you through the head or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially if they think that there's some reason why. You know, there's a whole undercurrent of like the slave trade in the region too. So that made sense. And so there was no incentive I mean, technically they could.
It was like, we'll just make these guys slaves.
Yeah, but technically I could have just been like, oh, they just come up and they hit you. It's a critical hit. You die.
Yeah.
You suffer a death saving throw and they hit you again. You die. Like it's like, okay.
This guy can't die. Let's hit him 3 more times.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really easy for adventuring parties to die at first level. Okay. And generally speaking, when you get to about 5th or 6th level in that ballpark, generally you're not in any peril. You're right on the bubble, I would say. After once you get about 6th level, usually you start having access to magic where you can raise characters from the dead, and you start having access to more healing magic. Everybody has better hit points, so it's not as likely for someone to fall unconscious. And if they do, you can kind of bring them back up, and there's just more measures to be able to do that. But it's super easy, and when you get if a party makes it to 5th level, the likelihood that the reason the campaign will end is that, you know, something within the group, like certain players can't make it, or you just can't reach a time, you know, like something external to the game starts to derail the game, where people stop showing up, or they lose interest in the game, because to get to, you know, level 5 or 6 is usually, you know, several months. Even if you're playing once a week, or, you know, for 4 or 5 hours, it'd probably take you a few months to get there.
How long have you been playing? Like 2 months?
We started in the end of March.
Okay.
So pretty much April, May, June, July. So like 5 months.
Wow, that's
4
break, like maybe a week or 2 in between?
Yeah, but then there was several, like at the beginning of COVID, we were playing like 2 or 3 times a week sometimes.
Were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, we were playing like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Before they re-expanded the hours here at West Coast, because we could play in the shop. So we were just playing like 2 or 3 times a week. So we're playing like basically, you know, 6-7 hours a week. And that's probably pretty typical, maybe even a little more than typical. So yeah, you guys are right on pace for about average leveling wise.
Okay.
But yeah, generally it's just people kind of lose interest, or their schedules at work shift, or they get girlfriends or whatever, and then they just kind of, the campaign fizzles out. I did have a campaign one time where we made it to like, it was basically the end of a campaign. So a campaign typically is like a series of adventures that'll take you up to a certain level, usually like levels 1 to 10, 1 to 11. Sometimes a campaign can be level 1 to 20. We're getting to the end of this campaign, and it was like the final big bad was like this demi-lich. So like a demi-lich is like this super powerful undead. So you know what a lich is, right?
Yeah.
Right. So a demi-lich is like a more evolved version of that.
Okay.
Like, so it doesn't even have like a body. It's just a floating skull that casts like a ridiculous spells. So it's just like a hovering skull with like emeralds for eyes. And it's just like the highest ascension of a lich, right? And so they're super powerful. And I had this party of like 11th level adventurers, and I just killed all of them. I just killed all of them. It was just,
your guys are dead. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just going to make this challenging. I'm going to make it as hard as I can. And so, yeah, it was just like, they got to it, and like, you know, the party, there was like 6 people in the party too.
Thanks, Dave.
I just fucking
asshole.
killed them all. Well, and that's the thing too, is again, it's like when you're in a situation like that, oh, and like one of your NPC buddies comes and like drags you to safety. I was like, no, you're like in some weird ethereal otherworldly tomb.
Yeah.
That's like, he's just going to take your soul and like, you're just going to go in the pile of corpses of all the other adventurers that he's murdered. And I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think that I would be able to kill off the party because they were all people that I'd been playing D&D with.
Oh, so they're pretty knowledgeable about the game. So.
Right. And so they all designed their characters in a very, like, okay, so I'm this guy and here's what I do and here's the build and everything that I take and here's the feats that I take and what to do at this level. And like they all like coordinated, like, okay, here's your role, here's my role, like you max out on that. The guy that ups my damage output, and here's how I'm going to do this. And they would like advise each other on their characters and shit. Like, I was looking at your guy, and it was like they knew what they were going to take so much that like they would look at other players' shit, and like try to advise them, like, hey man, have you considered doing this? Because if you could do that, like when I'm doing this, then it would be like super awesome. And so they were just really good. I had a good group cohesion. They understood like what the best use of their powers were. So they were just like super cohesive. So normally like things that were supposed to be challenging for their level, they could just run through. Just come in and like wreck shop on people and it'd be done. And so I just kept amping up the intensity, hoping to eventually challenge them. And then that's the thing is like when your characters are that capable and you just amp it up just a little too much and you step over that line, it's like they're all dead. It's like a razor's edge of difficulty if you don't perfectly calibrate it. So that was fun. Yeah. So now I got to make some new characters.
It'd be fun to go around try different characters, different classes, and all that stuff.
I would say that happens a lot too. The reason that people fizzle out, they don't necessarily fizzle out, but they'll be playing a character for a few levels, and then they'll be like, I had this idea for like this other character. And it's like, dude, you're only like third level in the character you have now, and they get kind of bored with the character they have, and they want to have like a different character.
Is it possible to suicide your character so another character shows up?
Like, I mean, it is.
Not suicide, but like, oh, he died. Oh, my God.
It's poor form. And that's the thing is, generally speaking, like, if you're one of, like, 4, 5, 6 players in a party, and the group is, like, halfway through an adventure, and your character dies, usually what I'll do is I'll just, like, let you inject a new character into the narrative, just to kind of not break up the narrative or whatever. Assuming they can't resurrect your character. So that's okay, but like...
Oh, I forgot about that part, yeah.
Yeah, so you can just kind of toss them into the narrative if you want, if they can't resurrect them. But,
like, when they resurrect them, is it like some necromancy stuff where they're kind of off? Or are they just back to normal?
You suffer some penalties.
Like, he gets hungry for blood once in a while, I don't know why.
That doesn't work like that, no.
No.
There's not that much of a dark side in that regard. It's not. That would be more of like a sword and sorcery kind of thing. Yeah. You like come back from the dead and you're just like not quite right, You have
a walleye for no reason.
Yeah, but usually I'll inject a character back into the game just to not break up the flow if there's like 4 other players or whatever. But in a party of 2, like if one of you dies, like and the other one can't save them, then it's probably like a new campaign time, new adventure time.
No Lone Ranger goodness.
Solo adventures can be fun. I used to play them with my brother when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just hell. I remember being a kid and like I was like young. I couldn't go anywhere. I didn't have a car or anything. I'd call him up on the phone. We played D&D on the phone.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I run solo adventures. It's particularly cool for like rogues. Because you can do like a whole Metal Gear Solid kind of adventure where you're like sneaking.
Yeah.
And you sneak up and you like come up and like, trying to like backstab people and like not be detected. But you can't do that in a party as well. But if it's just like a single dude, you just design some adventure like break, you're a thief. So you like break in here and like steal this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have like all these sentries posted and like they, their skills and things go off the rails.
I did do that one time with one friend. I don't even know what the game was, but they were just, like you were saying, there's like one-on-one quests, but it was a space adventure.
Oh.
Like it was pretty much like Star Trek, but an RPG.
Oh yeah. What is that?
But there was no dice, there's no anything. He was just telling me things, and I would make orders for the ship to do certain things, send out crews and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was no mechanics that I could remember.
Oh.
So.
No, I remember there was kind of like a game like that, but it definitely had mechanics. That's why I used to like the choose your own adventure books that have mechanics. I don't know if you ever played any of those.
No, I don't think I've ever played those.
Yeah, they have like some choose lone wolf books. That's why I used to like those, because you would generate a character. You would get like a certain amount of equipment. You'd have slots for like equipment, and you could take stuff and like different things and choose different like abilities. And you'd have different combat prowess. And then when you got into fights, there was actually like a mechanic. They had a random number table that was like random numbers between 1 and 10, but I played D&D, so I just had a die.
Oh, okay.
And I would just, you'd roll for you, you'd roll for the bad guy, and then you'd look up on this little chart, like what's your combat score and what's their combat score? What did I roll? You add that to your combat score. Okay, I take 4 damage, he takes 2 damage. And you would just do that, and you'd keep track of your hit points, and then the quest was over. I mean, it was honor system, obviously, but I used to run them for my brother when we were kids. It's kind of fun.
I bought this audiobook because I had a subscription to Audible, so it was like I had points. So, but it's a game called Top 10. The book's called, or a series is called Top 10. Games you can play in your head and by yourself. So it's just like your mind's eye make you find these like parameters for this game, and you have to get from point A to point B, and then you're playing both characters, like you're, the enemy and the hero at the same time, and you're setting traps for yourself.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There's no mechanics. It's just like imagining it.
I barely got into it. I think it's better to get the book rather than the audiobook. I just, got it because I was curious. So they do make a printed book, so I'll probably get that and see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, I used to like the choose your own adventure little things. Like usually it's like something you could, like I said, it's kind of something better that like one character is rolling for the bad guys and reading the description, and then when you get to a decision point, you ask the player, like, what would you like? Would you like to do this or this or this or this or this? And that's another thing I liked about the Lone Wolf books, is it wasn't like A or B. It was like often there were like 4 options, and sometimes one of them would even be like, if you chose this skill or if you have this piece of equipment and you want to use it, then turn to this page, right? And so it was like much more of a decision tree. Although sometimes I remember it would just be like, oh, like, okay, you do this thing, and you go like examine like the situation, and it's like, oh, and there's like a demon over there, and it eats your. It's like, oh, okay, well, that was anticlimactic. I just died because I turned to the wrong page. Okay. But yeah, they did some dumbed down versions of D&D 2, which was basically like a board game. I think it was called like Dragon Quest or something. And it was scenarios, and one player plays the game master or dungeon master. I think they call him the Dragon Master, actually. And he controls all the monsters, and it just comes like a a lot like Ravenloft.
Okay.
But it was like priests, like determined scenarios, and you didn't play against the board. You had someone running and it was just kind of a primer for D&D.
Okay.
Which is fun. You probably can't even find it. It's probably like hundreds of dollars now to find it. But there was that one. There was one called Dungeon, which I actually think Wizards of the Coast re-released. So actually maybe it is pretty easy to find now. But it's fun. It's like D&D light.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Very cool. What else? Stepped into the present day with our current machine shop, or my machine shop. Got a new machine, 5-axis, and it's all the bells. It feels like when it's like like we just look at this wheel.
Yeah.
Because it's like all the bells and whistles are like oh my god, this makes the job so much easier. Kind of runs into.
Graham didn't even be like, what is that?
Plebes wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well,
it's wrapped up because they just got delivered. It's just wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, but like if I didn't know you were a machinist and I saw that, like we were just kind of like adjacently friends or something, and I saw that, I would be like, what in the fuck is that?
Plus, there's no scale. There's no one standing next to it. Yeah. So it's like, how big is that thing? You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have guessed like 10 or 12 feet.
It's about probably, yeah, you're 10 or 12, and then maybe it's this big box basically.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's wider than it's tall.
Yeah,
so maybe
it's
like,
kinda like
maybe
thick
almost
too.
maybe almost like 20 feet wide, and then maybe 6 or 7, 8 feet deep.
Not, it's probably like 12 and 12, and then maybe 6 or 10 feet.
Oh, so it is a square.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
For some
it's a
reason
big
it looked-
box.
Oh, what's in a box?
So that's fun. And then it's kind of dicking it because like trying to dick around with that thing because even though the controls are very familiar to what I do using like a vertical machine of that vertical mill, just that it's a 5-axis machine, meaning there's like 2 more axes than usual.
Okay.
So there's like A and B now. X, Y, Z.
Axes
A-
or axes?
Axes.
Is it axes? But spelled
Axis.
axes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, so that's fun. And yeah, it's hopefully I don't want to be the first guy to crash that thing because that would be not good.
canceled.
Yeah, cancel that one.
Does it make doing stuff at work easier?
Oh yeah, it's cutting like anything that would take like I'd say 3 to 4 operations. Now it's just 1. So
Oh wow.
yeah, cuts it by.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Like takes offsets by itself. You could run it remotely. You can have an app on your phone and like, oh, it's running. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it on. Do all
Does
that
it just
stuff.
depend on what job you're doing that you need that machine?
Yes.
So it's
You,
not.
we can run almost like any of the typical jobs that we have, but like you're kind of wasting it.
Right,
by
that's
not-
like presumably if there's a lot of people doing a lot of jobs, you decide which job gets priority on that machine because you need it more than other people.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. And plus, you have to kind of price it out. Whatever you're using new equipment, you kind of add that into the cost of your parts. Because you got to make your money back on that machine.
That's why all medical procedures cost so much money, right? The fucking MRI.
Oh, yeah. You're
It's
just like, you got to, this thing costs like $10 million. You got to recoup the costs on those fuckers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fun. And usually, it's the summer right now, but in Santa Clara, I don't know if it's a typical thing that most cities have, like, dump your trash on the curb and then the city will clean it up for you.
Santa Clara, it's called the cleanup campaign.
Yeah, it's been happening as long as I've been living there.
They have tried to get rid of that on several occasions because it just costs too much money. It's not really worth it. Mm-hmm. And there's like riots in the streets,
Yeah.
man.
We don't like that shit. We want to
Yeah.
throw our shit out on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all it is like you could just an appointment within like a few windows throughout the year and somebody will come to your house and pick it up. Mm-hmm. Because doing it all like on the same day every year is like costly.
Well, it's not the same day. It's like spread out within a month or something like that.
Either way, they just have it be like slightly different. Like you just have to make a call and make an appointment and like figure out whatever. Mm-hmm. People hate it. They don't want that.
I don't want it.
They don't want
I
it.
like it.
And it's not that much money like that they save, so they don't really push it. But people are constantly going like, yeah, we should just.
It's a
get rid-"
tradition. How dare you?
It's kind of like pennies.
yeah.
Yeah, like we just should get rid of pennies.
No.
Like why do we have,
like it.
Why do we have pennies? Or
How can I
fucking
make these dad jokes without these fucking pennies?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But so yeah. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Every year, it's kind of like I look out the window. It's kind of like David Attenborough is like narrating a nature thing. Because to me, it's like the trash that's left on the curb is a dead carcass, and then throughout a cam or a time lapse thing. When you see like those. Yeah, like out in safari or maybe in the ocean when let's say a whale dies and it sinks down to the bottom, all the little animals like start creeping.
Scavengers,
all the scavengers start doing it. You so it's almost exactly how you see it.
Maybe that's why people love it so much.
No, yeah, definitely. That's why.
Because they can just scavenge.
Yeah, because like the very first day when you're allowed to dump your stuff in is like the big creatures, the people that have like the U-Hauls or have like big pickup trucks. Like the big animals, they look for all the heavy metal stuff or the big ticket items they can repair and take that. And then later on throughout the week, these little people that just like taking their walks are like looking through your garbage and grabbing through all that stuff.
So it's like a citywide swap meet for
yeah.
hobos.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I imagine if you go to like a flea market and you would find your old stuff in there.
Why do they call them flea markets? I've always wondered this.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I've never met anybody that knows.
Maybe because it's old shit, like back in like the medieval times, like the market, the flea market, with all the garbage that people sell,
I guess.
the flea bags.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about the fact that people probably come. People will take fucking anything. I learned this. Like I had to get rid of some stuff on fucking Craigslist, and I was like just trying to get rid of some stuff, and someone was like, just put it on Craigslist for free.
Oh yeah, you'll get rid of it real quick.
Yeah, and he was like, dude, he's like, you'd be surprised. Like he's like, I remember I listed like 100 wire hangers. And within like an hour, somebody came.
Hey man, you got the wire hangers, bro?
Empty prescription pill bottles.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, people just came and picked them up.
My favorite one is a pile of dirt. Seriously, it was like, there's a pile of dirt in front of my lawn. If you want to take free dirt, you can.
People just dirt. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. I don't want to pay for dirt. Why would you pay for dirt?
It's like, yeah, I don't. It's just like, yeah, things that have no intrinsic value, people will find a use for. And it was like, I thought I gave the thing away. And I was like, well, just, things will peter off in a few days.
What do you mean?
Because I didn't take the ad down. Right
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll just peter off in a few days, right? No. Like, it was just, like, so long after people were still contacting me. And, like, hey, man, you still got that? Like, I think it was, like, a couch or something, or a bed or some shit.
Yeah.
And just, like, people competing. Like, hey, man, I can't get over there until, like, 4:30. Like, is like, like, could you hold it for me? I was like, well, I had a guy call earlier, and he, said that he's going to come get it at 2. He's like, well, can you, like, just really hold it for me? I really want it. But, like, I'm like, look, dude, just whoever shows up here.
First come, first serve.
Yeah, to pick it up first. I'm not going to, like, what's your name? What's your social? I'm, like, doing, like, a retina scan to make sure you are who you say you are. Like, I don't fucking care who gets the thing.
Yeah.
I just want it out of here
sooner
rather than later. If you're sooner, then you win and you get the thing.
Well, people don't know how to read directions. Local pickup only. Oh, could you drive here and meet me over here? I was like, what did it say in the ad?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, bring a truck. Because I don't own one and I'm not going to drive it to your house. Like, hey, man, well,
it's the same. Yeah, the same thing happened with me. Is like, I didn't say local pickup only, but what did I say? Just something like, just...
Who's going to expect you to drive?
Contact me and you can come pick it up whenever is convenient. Or something like that. And they're like, well, hey, man, can you, like, bring it out? I was like, no.
Can I check it out first?
It's like, no. Like, come and get it. Yeah, the guy asked me that. I was up at the cigar shop, like, playing board games. And he was like, hey, man, I want to, like, come check it out before I, like, take it. And I was like, do you want to take it? And he's like, well, I'm not sure. I'd like to come take a look at it. And I'm like, well, if you're not going to take it, then I'm not going to go home to, like, show it to you.
Yeah. You're not exchanging money for this. You're getting it for free.
Yeah, it's so I will not be inconvenienced because I know somebody will just definitely take it for free.
I don't know. It got a hole in it and it's kind of wobbly on one side. It's like, do you want it or not?
I don't know.
I guess. It's like the same thing with my brother. I give him like that tablet thing.
Yeah.
Well, what year is it? I don't know. 2018. Like what company makes it? It's like, do you want it or not?
Exactly. That's the thing is I've had several people offer to give me things that are clearly like valuable things. And I decline them because I just don't know that I'm the best person because I won't get that much use out of it. And so I'm like, you'd be better off to give that to somebody else. Somebody will fucking want that.
Yeah.
And so it was like, yeah, like Adam was going to give me his wireless headphones or whatever they were. I think they might even be Beats or whatever.
Ooh, Beats.
They're like the wireless ones, and they're fucking expensive.
Oh, the Beats Pro, yeah.
I think that's what they are because he got some other ones that he liked better, and he's a nice dude, so he just gives me stuff that he thinks that I might want, and I don't think they work with it. It said it was only like for iPhone.
That's so weird.
On the package, like I didn't say anything. It didn't say anything on the package that indicated that it was Android compatible, and I tried to hook it up. I mean, I'm not totally stupid. I read the instructions and tried to figure it. And it wouldn't hook up to my phone.
That's weird.
And so I was like, and so I ended up giving them to Chris Davis. And like, I was like, no, that's like a better use for someone to have like that thing that like I will only use occasionally. So like, but yeah, it's just like, no, I don't want it because it's not good enough. It's like I have the opposite problem. Like usually things are like, you sure you want to give that to me?
Yeah.
Like I'm not like a tech guy, right? Like I can't really appreciate this to the fullest potential that somebody would appreciate.
It's like when your uncle gave you his old laptop. He's like, I don't know, is it better than my new one or the old one I have? He's like, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't say that. He was just like, do you want it? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you didn't know what this like. I don't know what these numbers mean. What do these mean? They mean nothing to me.
And I was like, okay, that looks probably I assume he built it. It means it's better than whatever I got going on. That's the assumption I made.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I was like, you don't have any use for it? He's like, I have no use for it. I was like, okay. So now I have 2 laptops. There's one that is my desktop at home and one that I take with me to do shit. So I have 2. But to me, it just seems kind of like, man, do I need 2 laptops? I don't think I really do, but they're both work fine, so why would I get rid of them? But
one's for on the go and one's for not on the go.
Yeah, and for something like a laptop, like I just got, so I just bought a pocket knife a while ago. And then, of course, we had a Drew Estate event at OCL, and they had like these Liga Privada survival kits, is what they're called. So it comes with a backpack, like one of those tins, like the Ratzilla tin.
Yeah.
But inside is a backpack, a Liga 9 backpack, like a real thin one, but it's a backpack, whatever. A tactical flashlight and a pocket knife. Ooh. And so Devin was over like last weekend, and he was like, "Oh man, this is a cool knife. Like, where'd you get this?" I'm like, "Take it." Like, I just spent $50 on a pocket knife, and he's like, "Well, why would you rather have the one that you bought, rather than this one? This because it's a bigger knife. It's like blades like that big. It's like a fold out knife." I'm like, because that's a free knife. So I assume the one that I spent money on, even though it's a smaller knife, is going to be better in the long run.
Yeah.
Like, it's a better knife.
You got a Kearshaw, right?
What's that?
What brand knife?
SOG?
Okay, SOG, yeah.
SOG. I don't know. Is that like a good brand?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a good knife.
Okay, I don't know anything about knives. I did like a little bit of light research, and I was like, well, this one looks pretty good. And there was like, I narrowed it down to 2, and then I went to find the other one, and it was sold out. So
yeah, you're not like
that
we know here that just buy garbage mall knives and say they're collectors.
I just need like a quick and easy little pocket knife that's going to stay sharp, made of good steel, spring action, minimalist design. Like, that's all I need. And that's what I told him. I'm like, look, this knife is fine, but it came free from a cigar company. So I don't have a lot of confidence that it's going to be a good knife in the long run.
Yeah.
Where I know what I spent on this, and I looked into a little bit. It basically do like I do with everything. Is whatever the thing is that I want, I just Google like best that thing, right? And then I go down the list of like the top. There'll be a list of like the 20 best like Connecticut wrap cigars. So like, let's say I didn't know anything about cigars.
Yeah.
It was like I was looking for a great Connecticut wrap cigar. I just Google best Connecticut wrap cigars, Nicaraguan Connecticut wrap cigars, right? And then I'd find like
Rocky Patel. Awesome.
I'd find like 10 lists, and they'd be like top 20. I would be like, okay, what cigar on all 10 of those lists makes like the top 5? It's this one consistently is in the top 5 of every list, or at least on the list. Then that's probably the one I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
And that's the way I roll. I don't unless it's like some fucking, if it were like a cigar, some fucking magazine, or like I try to curate whoever's making the list. Like you're looking up knives, you're not going to look on like all recipes or whatever, best pocket knives, right? You're going to look at like something.
BuzzFeed says this is the #1 knife.
Correct, right? Just a bunch of fucking libtard idiots that probably never used a knife a day in their life unless it was to butter their toast. And so
their avocado toast.
Exactly. So that's just generally how I do things. And so I had no use for a second pocket knife, so I just gave it to Devin because he seemed like he could use it. Like, okay, there you go.
Sometimes those giveaway knives are handy. Kind of Chinese knockoff Swiss Army knives, and I keep that in my go bag. It's better than no knife.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I wouldn't have bought the SOG knife if like I had got that little Liga pack like, a week or two earlier. Like I wouldn't have bothered because I put off buying a pocket knife for so long because
Don't you just want to have a nice pocket knife? Like this one's gonna last me years.
I mean, it's nice to have one that I'm pretty sure will last me for a long time. But mostly it's just I just kind of need it for utility, and wherever I am, if I need a knife, then there's one about. And just use the one that's about for whatever the thing is. And so it's something I've managed to get by most of my adult life without, so obviously it's not a necessity. It's a nice to have sort of thing, where you that's a cool thing to have, and it's just like I'm not trying to ladle more things into my life that like I need to have, like
I have enough stuff already. I got a place for this.
Yeah, it's so. But generally, yeah, it's sure it's nice to have a nice pocket knife or whatever, but it's just pretty low on my list of accessories of things that I would need. But I eventually just was like, oh, I need one because I use it at work and stuff. If I didn't use it at work, I probably wouldn't have ever bothered investing in one. It's a pretty small knife. It's $50 for this fucking little knife. It's probably a pretty good knife. All these things I'm reading about it say that it's a pretty good knife. And all the other knives, that's how I also narrowed it down, is all the other knives that were on the list of, like, pocket knives, they were all, like, orders of magnitude more expensive. Like fucking $200, $250, $400. And I'm like, I'm not spending that much money.
Is it pointy? Things will stay sharp and pointy. That's kind of my criteria.
Because, yeah, I think... Because just like anything, it's... Materials only take you so far, and then at some point, it's brand and design.
But it has a blood groove just in case you stab somebody with it and twist it.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm not trying to stab anybody. That's good. Generally speaking, actually, like when I go out for a walk or something, I make it a point to leave my pocket knife at home.
Well, yeah, if you don't know how to use a knife, it's a lot more dangerous to just have it on you because you think you're going to use it on somebody. Like, it's going to get taken away from you and you're going to get stabbed with your own knife.
Yeah. Well, my attitude is unless you're some sort of expert knife user or have some training using a knife, if you get a knife out and you're trying to use it to defend yourself, like, you're both going to get cut. Most likely.
That's a guarantee.
And so I don't want to be tempted to use a knife on someone. It's the same reason I go for a walk or something, I leave my wallet at home. Someone wants to rob me, I was like, I don't have anything, dude. Like, okay.
Nice try, buddy. Pop, pop, pop. Yeah. That's why you get a decoy wallet.
Yeah, I don't really care that much.
Yeah. That's what I do when I go, like, out of country. I have, like, a decoy wallet.
Yeah.
I have, like, an old ID and, like, dollar bills in there. Just take it. I've never been robbed, but it's just like, I'm going to take this.
Yeah, if I really wanted to defend myself, I'd take my girlfriend's pepper spray, but it just seems like running is a better option. You know what I mean?
You'll just be tired when they kick your ass.
Unless you're like an athlete of some sort, I'm fairly confident I can outrun most people, especially scared on foot. Like I'm not like super fast by like athlete standards, but
generally I think people that try to rob you, like they're not gonna fucking chase you.
That's my attitude.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna see somebody that's like a,
running. Hey, man, give me your money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fuck.
Oh shit, man!
Fuck. Are you from Kenya? All right, you can just have it. I'm not running because there's no way I'm getting away from you, right?
Lord of mercy, come over here.
But generally speaking, and they're inclined to rob me, they're probably not going to be able to catch
James,
me.
what are you robbing me for?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Barry Sanders for some reason was hard up for money. It's like, damn it, fuck.
He does like a 360 and tackles you.
It's like, oh, I'll let you get like a couple pylons down the road. But yeah, so jumping back to D&D, I learned something interesting today.
What's that?
So I was talking with JR. He's one of the owners over at Aloni. For some reason, he's always in like Saturday morning when I come in. He's like getting ready to leave right at like 10:20, 10:30 when I get there. And so he was in today, and he was like, "Hey, are you podcasting this weekend?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We don't cast here anymore, though." I'm like, "We pretty much." I was like, "Well, to make a short answer long, we used to cast on Sundays, but now me and my buddies like play D&D on Sundays, so now we cast on Saturday." closed here when I get off work on Saturday, so I just cast over at West Coast. And he was like, oh, you play D&D? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, me too. I was like, oh, really? Weird. He's like, oh, yeah, like I play like, once a month with my buddies on Zoom. And and he was talking about how he's like, he's like goes apeshit with the 3D printer.
Oh, yeah?
He's just like 3D prints like dungeons and like all these like monsters and shit. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, it just kind of sucks over Zoom though, because it's kind of hard to angle the camera at the. I'm like, oh, you don't know about Roll20? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, we tried it, but it seems really complicated, like setup and everything. I was like, no, you can just import adventures, bro. Like you can import adventures of the D&D and make everything super clean and easy. He was like, all right.
Is he a DM or is he just a player?
No, I think he's a player.
Okay.
Because he was talking about how he couldn't. I guess his character, he was telling me, has like a sword sticking out of his chest or something.
That's badass.
And he was like, so it's really hard to render a 3D, mini for him, because he's like, it's weird and that fucks the balance up and everything. He's like, I'm like, yeah, you got to get pretty sophisticated with some programs in order to, but I don't imagine that's an issue. I think pretty much all the owners at Alonia are engineers, so he probably can run fairly sophisticated programs without too much difficulty.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounded like he was just.
What's it run on, Java?
I don't know. I've never run a 3D program for printing.
No, I mean on.
Oh, what does Roll20 run?
Yeah.
I think it used to, but I don't know if it does anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because it updated a lot better.
Yeah, because I figure some guy that does some sort of programming or knows some sort of programming language would be pretty handy with a Roll20.
Well, especially because you can write your own APIs and stuff for that game.
Yeah.
Which is, you just find some stuff on. You can just find, like, look up the APIs in this program. And that's how I do the button that just clicks the torch on and off, which is super easy. And there's stuff like that you can do with other API scripts. It's just none of them are, but I imagine someone like him probably could breeze through it, but I don't know.
Speaking of programs.
You know what really grinds my gears?
What's that?
It's like, I'm trying to learn how to use this fucking 5-axis machine and gotta, learn how to program it.
You do.
Yeah, I do. And then you're going through tutorials, learning all the steps, and there's a major fucking flaw with the thing, and I can't fucking program anything anymore. It's like, oh, stop. There's no point now. I can't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
Like a major flaw. I'm like, what? I don't understand how anybody gets anything done with this thing.
With the machine?
With this program, if this certain feature doesn't work, I'm like, how does anything else work now? It's like if like copy and paste doesn't work on your computer at all.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's like that.
That would be annoying.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Just gotta retype everything, I guess.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So that's one of my annoyances. Yeah, this is going through the tutorials, like, okay, do this way, I'm gonna do this way. Taking it slow, baby steps.
Sure.
And I'm just on lesson 1. Like how to get the machine to turn certain parts. And it's just not fucking working. I'm like, all right, this is... I thought I was going to get some work done this weekend, and it's stop at step 1.
I really hate when that happens, where it's like you actually you're like, all right, I know this is going to be a fucking thing. And it's like going to be a headache. But okay, I'm sitting down to do it. I'm mentally prepared.
Yeah.
And blocked off some time.
Yeah, get my learn on.
To do this thing.
Yeah.
And it just like, whatever, so you hit some snag in the process that just like stops you from fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like you've already, and like the frustration is like exponentially higher than if it just didn't work like initially. You're like, I'll just come back to it later.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's like when you've prepared and like set aside time and you're like all in that mode, you fucking like just, you get derailed because of some bullshit snack. For me, it just, this rage just wells up, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah,
just like
I'm at that point.
Do this at all, and this is part of the reason that so many things that. So generally speaking, I'm like, I rail about stuff a lot, but when it comes to dealing with real frustrations in my life, in the moment, in the time, part of the reason I rail about shit is because I try to deal with things in a fairly level way, like reactionary.
It's like, okay, we're gonna skip this part. We'll go on to something else. You're not just thumb up your ass.
Or even when it comes to dealing with people, like most people hear me rail and rant about shit that fucking irritates me, And so if they've never seen me interact with someone, they're prepared for me to fucking lose my shit on them. And then they're like, wow, I'm really impressed you didn't like just fucking tear into that guy for being an asshole. I'm like, yeah, what's the fucking point, right? I got no energy for it. I mean, I'll rail about it all day long, hypothetically, in like a theoretical sense of like people that do X. But when someone's actually doing X to me, unless it's really stepping on my dick, I probably just am like, all right, fuck you, leave me alone. And I just get away from them. So, but the one thing that really does, like, I have no patience for and I don't handle well at all is things that are just tedious and involve any sort of, like, bureaucracy. Maybe it's just because, like, being a reporter, you have to deal with bureaucracy and it's, like, part of your job to deal with that bullshit. So it's like anything like DMV related.
So you're saying Hermes is not your favorite character in Futurama?
I like Hermes, but it's just, yeah. Like I was thinking about this the other day. Like I could probably apply for unemployment and still get it because I'm underemployed because of COVID, and so. But like the thought of that just makes Diana's like, you're not going to do that. There's no way you're going to do that. And like I might do it. Like I probably will do it. It's just a matter of when I will do it, because it's like
it's not very assuring that when you did apply for unemployment, nothing fucking happened. It was like, well, I don't know what happened, but I got a job.
That's part of my reservation. Is I did when I got laid off here from West Coast, I applied immediately, and
that was not even during COVID.
Correct, it wasn't. Yeah. And so I heard nothing. And it's like, I don't know. It just like went into a vortex, and I was like, whatever, I got a job. The government's
like, beg us. And come on, we want you to beg us.
Well, the thing is, like, I was noticing on my phone today, in my notes on my phone, I have a confirmation number. If I have a confirmation number, it would indicate that I completed the process.
I guess.
It's like the last thing they give you. It's like, here's your case is being reviewed. Here's your confirmation number. Right? With anything. Like when you wouldn't have a package and then think to yourself, did I place that order? Right? Because you have the fucking tracking number. You know you placed the order. That's my attitude. And so I was like, I have the confirmation number. I've never heard anything like about anything. But I got work, so I was like, I don't need that.
Maybe it's like a secret layer for like unemployment. It's like you gotta jump some hoops. You want some dough.
Well, I don't know what those hoops are. Yeah. And so part of me is gonna be like, I feel like I'm gonna go do it, and it's gonna be like I already applied, and then there's like a status of an application, and then it's like, well, I'm still working, but not working full time, and well, I wasn't really working full time before COVID, but I was working full time before that, and I did file that unemployment application before that, once I stopped working full time. So like, what's the status of that? What's the onus of proof? Like, and I feel like it's just gonna me, but it's just like it's money. So it's money I've been paying into it my whole life. I think I've been on unemployment for like a few months of my whole adult life. When I think I was living in Ann Arbor, and it was the same sort of situation. I applied for it. I applied for it mostly out of spite. I got fired from my job in Iowa, and then I applied for unemployment just to get on the call and try to defend firing me. Right? Try to defend, because there was like no discussion after. She just was like, fuck, you're done. Get out of here. And I was like, okay, you're not even going to let me plead my case here.
Sign any paperwork or anything like that.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I got a spite. I'm going to make her get on the call with this fucking bureaucrat and argue her case, and I'm going to argue my case, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to get money that you have to pay me just because I'm irritated at you. And so I got it for a few months, but then it stopped, and I don't know why it stopped, and I didn't care to find out. It was just like, whatever. I got it for a while, I guess, like a few months. So that's cool. But I just But been paying into it my whole fucking adult life. It technically is my money, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
What else?
Looks
like I've been the only person watching anything. So
I've been binging on 6 Feet Under, which I've already seen like several times.
Oh, okay. Comfort food for you?
It's just a good show. It's a really underrated show. I don't know hardly anybody else that's watched it wall to wall. And I'm always raving about what a good show it is. and no one ever listens to me and watches it or cares enough to watch it or had watched it previously. Like, the only people I know that have seen it are people that I, like, sat them down and were like, watch this show with me. Like, old ladies, basically. Not old ladies. Old ladies.
Gam, sit here. You're gonna like this.
But no, it's a great show. It's probably one of the best shows ever on TV. And so I just kind of, I don't know.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's up there with The Wire and Sopranos and, you know, whatever other shows you want to throw at the wall there. I don't know what other, Breaking Bad.
Breaking Baddie, baby.
I'm trying to think of what other contenders. I don't know.
Game of Thrones.
No. Well, but Rome ran 2 seasons, so I don't think that counts. 2 seasons is not.
No.
It's not a show. It's
it could have just shit the bed after the 3rd season. Who knows?
Yeah, but it was trending up, though.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy of that show, is that it was trending up, but its popularity didn't mirror its budget. So it was like, Deadwood, same thing. But, you know, I think it's
Raider had to go from Rome to the wildlings, to north of the wall.
Yeah. There's a bunch of people from Rome in that show.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what the fuck? This guy was a Game of Thrones. What the fuck? This guy was a Game of Thrones. It's like, what the fuck?
Like, by my count, there's like 5 or 6 actors that were in
Yeah, like
that
the
were in Rome.
first 2 episodes, like, what?
And then randomly
They just had it on a container. That's like, that's why they just retainer. So they just like, you just got to finish your
carry over.
Yeah.
Hey, you signed on for like a medieval-y sword and sandal kind of show, and that's what this is. So just get in there and do your thing.
But dragons don't exist. Shut up.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Yeah.
And then there's also the guy from Deadwood is in one episode of Game of Thrones too. He plays.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Swearingen. Yeah. He's in there. They put him in there for like one episode.
He doesn't look like he's a part of any world. He's just he fits in John Wick, and that's about it. Everything else, he sticks out like a sore thumb.
I like him.
Yeah, he's a good character, but it's just like he plays that character.
Yeah. But you know, when you need that character, it's like when you need Kevin Bacon. You gotta get Kevin Bacon. Right? We have a Kevin Bacon like role, and it's like, oh, I'm great. I'm Kevin Bacon, so it'll work.
I'm here.
It's just because you got to put Kevin Bacon in that role. You can't. But maybe it's just because he's just so like. I can't envision anyone else playing any role that Kevin Bacon has played. And it's not because he has like some...
He's not like a standout actor, though.
Exactly. He doesn't have like a signature style or something like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Or try to imagine anyone else in The Shining, right? You can't. But like, it's just like, it's Kevin Bacon. Plays Kevin Bacon-esque roles.
Yeah.
Brings home the bacon.
Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been watching?
The Expanse. I actually... When it first came out, when it went on to streaming, watched a few episodes, was pretty interested. It's very like a hardcore sci-fi show. Stopped, and I watched like a YouTube channel that was like explaining like how The Expanse was like the most science accurate sci-fi show ever. I was like, oh, I should watch it again.
Yeah, but how many science fiction shows are there really?
Star Trek.
Yeah, but like shows
Babylon 5.
Shows that have science in them.
Yeah. Babylon 5, Star Trek. It's like science adjacent.
Battlestar Galactica, but it's like,
yeah,
there's just not a lot really in that.
Yeah.
And most of them are nerd fanfare. So they're basically just Star Wars.
Space fantasies.
Yeah, space fantasy.
Yeah.
Space opera, whatever you want to call it.
And I'm kind of playing this game of like, can you remember what the plot of the show is? Why is it important? That's the game I've been playing. Because, like, I don't want to watch the old episodes for some reason. So I just jumped in before I stopped. And I'm like, who's this guy? Oh, yeah, he's a detective. And it's like a noir in space. But this part's like hardcore sci-fi battleship stuff. And why is this important? I'm playing this game. Like, I don't know.
So you didn't start from the beginning?
I did.
Oh.
It's been like a 3 or 4 year gap.
Oh, so you didn't like pick it up from the beginning?
No.
You just picked it up where you left off.
Yeah. I'm playing the game of like detective. Like, I kind of remember something happened. It's like I'm living Memento. like, what's happening here?
Wait, what happened in that movie?
Yeah. And then I'm just playing this game and it doesn't help that I watched like an episode while working here, and then people come in and out, and I just forget to pause it. I'm like totally lost in the middle of an episode. Like, is this a flashback? I don't even know.
Who produced that?
I don't know.
Because I feel like I always confuse it with this other show that I want to say is like a WB show or something. Like the one where they like leave Earth or whatever.
Oh, After Earth or something like that?
No, it's called, I want to say it's like the 13 or something like that. Or the
100.
The 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show was 100. I don't know. But
Fire 100.
But Kyle was talking about it one night.
Uh-huh.
And I was like listening to him talk about it. And then I watched like part of an episode, and I was like, "This is fucking horrible. Like, this is not a good show."
Yeah. The Expanse really, even though it was already a book series, it kind of the show reminds me of like the book Seven Eves. If you've ever read that one, I think it's
Seven Eves.
Yes.
No, I've never even heard of it.
Like the first sentence in the book was like, "The moon blows up, and no one knows why," and it's like the ramification of it. If the moon actually blew up, what would happen? And
Nothing.
no, lots of stuff would happen, and it's very bad.
Nah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it's set in kind of almost near future where we colonize
Kind of near future. So
I don't know how
the
far.
present.
I don't know where the I don't know what year it's set in. So I can't really
okay.
say.
So you don't know if it's near or somewhat far future.
Yeah. So we colonize Mars. There's actually like people that are like asteroid belt miners, and there's a war between people on Mars and Earth, and people live on the belt, asteroid belt, and all that shit. And it's pretty interesting, like the kind of politics around it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who fucking like I'm familiar with that show. It was like, did you watch any of that?
Are you looking for the producer?
Yeah, like who makes it? I want to say it's like maybe it's just Netflix.
No, it was Sci-Fi, Sci-Fi.
Siffy?
Yeah, and then Amazon picked it up.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I never got into it, because like Sci-Fi just isn't known for producing good shows.
Yeah.
As a general rule, like there are some exceptions to that, but usually it's like if they get something good, it's because they picked it up from somebody else. Like when they had MST3K on there for a while.
Yeah.
And
it's so weird. And then they went to like reality TV, and I'm like, where's the sci-fi in that?
I don't know. It was just like trying to just scraping the bottom of the barrel, like for all the. I miss when sci-fi was just like old sci-fi TV shows and old sci-fi movies. You just like turn it on in the middle of the afternoon, Ray Bradbury Theater, like 5 episodes of it would be on in a row. You'd be like, all right, I'm gonna watch this.
MTV used to play music videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MTV turned 35 today. Here's to celebrating 14 years of music.
Let's see. I just read the article, but
did you know?
Remember a few years ago when they had a Kickstarter for Detroit was trying to set up a RoboCop statue?
I do.
Yeah, it's finally going to be put up pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I forgot. It did get funded, right?
Yeah, it did get funded. And there was like issues with them getting, they said they got the rights to build a RoboCop. Well, they got the rights from the people that own the property.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of overlapping. It's what Universal is the studio that produced the movie, right?
And Orion.
Yeah, and Orion is the production company. And then you probably would have to get Peter Weller's permission because he played RoboCop. And then you might have to get Frank Miller's permission, too, because he's the comic writer that the movie was based on.
Oh, Frank Miller did that one?
Fuck yeah, it was Frank Miller, dude.
Huh.
Frank Miller was like RoboCop before he did all the Dark Knight stuff.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wrote that's why that movie has such a. I think he even wrote the screenplay for the movie.
I'll buy that for $1.
He had something to do with the production of the film. He either wrote the screenplay or he was like a production advisor or something. He was involved in the movie. That's the reason that movie has like. I mean, I think it has a Frank Miller feel to it. It's
definitely
gritty.
does. Now looking at it, like now that you told me, I was like, yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, because it was like they were trying to create the texture of the Frank Miller RoboCop comics, and.
Can you believe they made like children's toys for that fucking thing, that property?
Now, come to think of it, actually, maybe the comics came after. Maybe he wrote the comics after, but I think he also did. I think I might be confusing Judge Dredd because I think he did the Judge Dredd comics. So I think the RoboCop comics might have came after the movie, but he had something to do with the film for sure. But he used to write Judge Dredd. It's like just vintage Frank Miller stuff, super. And that movie is a large disappointment because when you read the Judge Dredd comics, the movie you want for Judge Dredd
was the Oh, I thought the whole Carl Urban movie was like the real kind of like true to.
Yeah, but doesn't that movie feel like RoboCop to you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, they finally made the Judge Dredd movie they were supposed to be, but because they had already made a RoboCop movie and that was the Judge Dredd movie you really wanted, like the Judge Dredd feels like RoboCop. It's sort of like
like Nuke is actually that slow-mo drug and all that shit.
yeah. It's like what were we talking about? It's sort of like the Fifth Element being the second best Die Hard movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're finally erecting that statue in Detroit. So they could be like Philly and have a fake person statue form. Mm-hmm. It'd be badass if they have RoboCop like this.
I feel like he'll just be like the freeze creep position.
It looks, because I saw a picture of it. It's like it's just like it has the chest and then the legs. They didn't have the arms because I don't know if it's like him holding a gun or having like the side thing out or something. I don't know.
They should have it like next to the Joe Louis statue.
Yeah.
Like it's like Joe Louis versus RoboCop. Now there'd be a fucking movie.
Or just put it like in different kind of statues, like the Michael Jordan, him dunking like RoboCop falling down, or like at the Wall Street with the bull, he's like holding the horns or something like that.
Yeah, that would be good. Just placing RoboCop in random
yeah.
statues as like the secondary character or whatever the statue, like that Mario Lemieux statue where he's like going to the defenseman, and like one of them's RoboCop.
It's like the goalie. Oh, freeze!
Freeze. Man, I haven't watched RoboCop in a minute.
Yeah, that should be good. I never watched the remake. It looked super retarded.
Yeah, who was that? The guy that was in it was also in The Killing, and he's in that other batshit crazy fucking sci-fi show on Netflix. What the fuck is it called? Somebody was trying to get me. They were watching it back here. The prison guard guys were watching it back here one time, and I was like, "What the fuck is this batshit crazy like sci-fi gibberish?"
Oh,
it's called God damn it. I can't remember what it's called. It's a fucking crazy show though. And
it's like prison guards like to watch like The Green Mile or Shawshank Redemption or something like that.
No, they're like big sci-fi and like just fucking anime nerds.
No, they just like to relax and watch that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll teach them.
Yeah. Green Miles is like just like, man, what would the Shawshank Redemption be like if we just made a supernatural element to it? And, you know, Tom Hanks is something with Tom Hanks peeing, because apparently he does that in like every fucking movie. It's like one of those weird things that some like actors do in every movie. And that one's the weirdest one. Like Tom Cruise on the motorcycle.
And him running.
But like he's in a motorcycle in almost every fucking movie, even when it doesn't call for it. Like in Oblivion. There's like, he's got this ship.
Future.
And the fucking, it's like this ship, and the ship is like going to this mountain over here, and then the ship lands, and he comes out on a motorcycle. I was like, couldn't you just fly the ship a couple miles closer to where you gotta go?
Did he do that? Did he ride a motorcycle?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, fuck.
I'm pretty sure he does. I don't remember when, but I'm pretty sure he rides a motorcycle in that movie. He rides a motorcycle on everything except Far and Away.
It's like, I made this motorcycle.
Yeah, he doesn't ride one in Far and Away, and I don't think he rides one in Interview with the Vampire.
It has to be a timepiece or a
period piece. Well, no, but a lot of he makes an appearance at the end of Interview with the Vampire, but he's driving in a car.
Oh, okay.
Mostly because the guy is in the back seat, or he attacks the guy at the end of the movie, if you remember.
I haven't watched that movie in a long time.
Christian Slater is the interviewer, and he's interviewing Brad Pitt, and he's telling all the story about Lestat and all this and yada yada yada. And then he goes and he leaves the interview, and then he's driving off over the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever, and Lestat's in the back seat, and he jumps up and bites his neck, and then he's listening to the tape of Louis talking, and he gets in the front seat, and the dude is like bleeding out, and he's like, Louis, still whining after all these years, Louis, right? He's right now, right? And he's like all like, you know, back to himself. So he drives a convertible, but he doesn't drive a motorcycle. But yeah, the Tom Hanks peeing is like the weirdest fucking one. It seems like it's really deliberate at this point now, and I don't understand why.
It's almost like the Brad Pitt eating thing.
Yeah, but see, I get that.
I'm a never man.
I get the Brad Pitt eating thing because it makes him seem
relatable.
It makes him. I think it makes him seem more kind of cavalier.
Oh.
You know, kind of like he's cool and he's like breezy and like relatable and he's like but he's always eating.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, even in Fight Club when he's not on screen, when Ed Norton calls him and you can hear that he's eating.
Oh yeah,
you can hear that he's eating like some chips or something. You know, it's add to the whole Tyler Durden effect. You're like, oh yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
But I understand why that's a thing and why it's deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't understand the Tom Hanks peeing thing. Like, why does it make him more whatever he's supposed to be? Like,
You got diabetes, man.
You can't like Tom Hanks more than everyone already does. It's like he's the most likable actor in the history of actors. Mm-hmm. He's like the Cary Grant of our fucking generation, right? Like
People
one
like
dislikes
working
him.
with him.
Yeah. He makes a ton of money. And he's like talented. And he's funny.
I thought of a thing. Like, I want to live my life like Adam Sandler. I want to be him. What would Jesus do? Like, what would Adam Sandler do? Like, if you think about that dude, he's an awesome dude. He like helps his buddies out.
Yeah.
Helps give them money. And sends them on vacations by filming in Hawaii.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his movies are garbage, but by almost every account, he's a fantastic dude.
Yeah, and he's a normal dude, it seems like.
Yeah, and he's pretty much the, really the only real A-list star. Like, he's like in a category by himself. Like, he can just do...
He's a low-key A-lister.
Yeah, persona-wise, but as far as, like, marketability, like, can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
Like, will guaranteed make, like, fucking $400 million, like, the first week something's on Netflix. Like, it just dump truckloads of money because it's just a guaranteed slam dunk. Yeah. Like, there's nobody that's even close to that category.
And it's also like a weird kind of category of like, who listens to Nickelback? I've never met anybody that's a fan. Like, who watches Adam Sandler movies and genuinely enjoys them?
It's everyone, apparently.
I don't know anybody that likes them. It's kind of stupid. I don't know why anybody watches. That's usually the comment I hear.
No, that's because it's the Emperor's New Clothes sort of situation. You're the person that's like, dude, this is fucking stupid. Why?
Yeah, it is stupid.
Like, I don't know, it's just something to put on. Like, you know, it's like, it's just fun. It's like, yeah, okay, you like Adam Sandler movies, but like, no one's like, yeah, man, I really like that new fucking Adam Sandler movie. It's like, it's not a matter of people liking them. That's not the issue. The issue is whether people watch them, and people do watch them, even if they don't like them, or even they proclaim to not like them, right? It's stated preference versus revealed preference. Like, you might say you don't like them, but like everyone watches them.
Apply for Nickelback?
If you listen to Nickelback,
it seems like that's a harder sell for me. Like, you have to, because like the whole thing with like Netflix is like, just put this on. No one goes into like, oh yeah, I'm gonna listen to some Nickelback right now. Good background music. Or let's go to their concert because there's nothing else to do.
I don't know, man. I think like I don't know.
Because I can get the Adam Sandler thing. That makes sense to me, but the Nickelback thing doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That like people actually put it on. If you listen to Nickelback, you like Nickelback. Like that's just, I don't know. I don't have another measure for whether you like something other than you engage in it. Like, do you find her attractive? Well, I mean, I guess kind of. Did you sleep with her? Yeah, I slept with her. You find her attractive. Like, it's really that easy. Yeah. You slept with her. You
slam piece, bro.
Whatever. For whatever reason you find her attractive, you find her attractive. Whatever reason you like Nickelback is a completely debatable thing. But if you listen to it, you like it. It's just like, if you could...
But then there's like the sold out concerts. Like, who...
No. Maybe it's like one of those things, like being a Trump supporter. Like, you just kind of hide it. You know? And maybe they have like some sort of secret like way to like...
MAGA.
Tease it out of like
MAGA.
Like tease it out of a conversation, whether you like Nickelback or some sort of like thing. Like, maybe you see like, what is that lapel pin I always see everyone wearing? What the hell is that? And you like ask somebody, it's like, oh, I don't know, dude. They're whatever. They're just cheap, and you get them, and they're like whatever. And you're like, oh. And you're like, but it's like a Nickelback thing. And it's like really, it's a way of like signifying that you like Nickelback.
It's like those Masons with their secret handshake.
Yeah, with the not secret.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like that, but yeah, somebody. But I think it's like easy to forget that there's like a whole middle of the country where people like shit, and those people are largely divorced from the dollops of what we call civilization most
like ICP people. Like
the most popular sport in the country is NASCAR.
Yeah,
That's true. Mm-hmm. But you would never think that if you spend any time around sports fans in like a normal place. You would think football. That's my guess would be.
But the thing is, I know like multiple people that like NASCAR, right? And then I don't know anybody that actually likes Nickelback or like occasionally listens to Nickelback.
Well, it's because NASCAR is just more ubiquitous. I would posit that like if you just like went to Kentucky, everyone likes Nickelback. Or if you went to Montana, the whole state likes Nickelback.
Yeah.
Because they're not selling out like the Hollywood Palladium and shit, as far as I can tell, are they? I mean,
I think they do.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, it's like the Garth Brooks thing. Like he sells out stadiums,
Still?
football stadiums, still today.
Wow. Yeah, he was like the first country music superstar.
Yeah.
He was like the first Elvis level fucking country star.
Oh yeah, dude, that guy's crazy.
Well, just terrible things, I guess. It's lowest common denominators, whatever
Where's the
it is.
bodies, Garth? I know you're hiding the body somewhere. You fucking psycho.
Yeah. I don't know. My aunt was really into him when he was like first popular. She's like, Garth Brooks. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Cool. I don't know.
Okay, what's down the list? Yeah, that's about. Oh, actually, now that there are more live sports being played now on TV, it seems like most sports on TV don't really need a live crowd. It's just more.
It certainly seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah, like hockey, it doesn't need a live crowd. There's so much action within the game.
Yeah.
It's fine. Baseball, that's a different story because there's so much downside between plays. It's like what do the commentators talk about? They talk about people in the stands and like, look at that kid eating a hot dog is bigger than him, man.
You know, what's now it looks
beach ball.
like there's a beach ball and it's out on the field and the umpires are debating about which one of them is gonna go out there and get it.
Now I'm curious to see what football looks like. Now we're not there yet, but what are they going to fill their time with?
the NBA is back too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
NBA is fine. It's a fast enough game too. Like any fast-paced game seems to do well without a crowd.
Yeah. It did look like, at least I was watching some basketball and it looked like it was pretty clear they're still knocking the rust off. Like,
Really?
Yeah, it was like you could just like missing easy shots and like the pace up and down the court was just like they were kind of like working the rust off. It's like usually like the first few games of a season usually looks.
Oh, okay.
And I would venture to guess that like, my experience from watching hockey is the same way. Like when you watch the first 4 or 5, 6, 7 games of the season, it just looks. You could tell it's just not good hockey. It's bad. Like,
Yeah.
but
So have you been watching any of the tournament, the NHL stuff?
I've caught like maybe collectively like a period and a half of hockey since it came back. I didn't even know it came back until Chris told me the other night.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I've been seeing, like it's like super high pace, high scoring games. Maybe just the games I've seen is like tit for tat, kind of just going at it, and it's like,
Well, you gotta think. I mean, these guys don't usually get that like
that much of a break in between.
Yeah. And so it's like at any point in the season you're fucking pretty beat up, and they don't usually come back. So they come back and there's like a tournament now. So it's like you're fully rested, and now like from the get there's like big time stakes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that level of energy for a hockey player who's well rested is like they're just gonna go balls out.
And I imagine like the younger players are kind of used to that schedule, like playing tournaments instead of like a season long grind. They're used to playing like tournaments, so it seems like it would fit them a little bit better.
Yeah, well, it's like I don't know much about like junior level hockey and what the level of intensity between like a season and a tournament is, but that's part of the. I think that's how they condition you for a 82 game schedule. Is that like when you're a kid and you're playing travel hockey and then you're playing tournaments and it's like
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I remember when Austin Matthews was a rookie. He played before he ever debuted in the NHL. He finished his last year of junior hockey And then he was like, literally his birthday is like 2 days before the draft or something like that. So he was not 18 at the draft. So he went over and he played a season in the Swiss League, the NLA, the National League Association or whatever, the Swiss League, the NLA. He went and played a full season over there and playoffs. Then their season ended, and before the NHL season, they did the World Cup that year. And so he played in the World Cup. So we got to see like a full season of him, and then we got to see him in the World Cup, and then I want to say some other tournament too. Maybe it was an Olympic year. Yeah, I think it was. It was an Olympic year too, and like the winter before that was the Olympic year, and then the next year they did the World Cup because they offset it from the Olympics. And so he played in the Olympics, and then he played a full NHL season. And this is all before he's even 20 years old. He basically been playing hockey nonstop for like a year and a half. And that's what it was. Is the Olympics came up after that? Is what it was. And they were like, he got to the Olympic team, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going.
I'm tired."
He's like, I'm just fucking taking a break. I've been playing hockey, like not like. He's like, basically
no off season.
Well, I mean, it made sense. He was like making. Like he was trying to get that contract. And so like, and once he got that contract and got through the season and like he had like proven, okay, a great rookie year, I'm still on an entry level contract, but like I've proven like through World Cup, through NLA, through first season,
I'm a bankable player.
I'm gonna get a contract, and I don't need to keep proving myself. I need to fucking rest now for the next NHL season.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, which is smart because he's fucking still crushing it. So he's worth all the money that you could pay him right now. He's probably the most. I would say besides Connor McDavid, should be worth more money in the NHL than anyone. Just because he is the best even strength goal scorer in the NHL that still has enough years ahead of him. Like Alex Ovechkin's the only better even strength goal scorer than him, and probably the only better pure goal scorer, Austin Matthews. But he's 35, and Austin Matthews is like 22 or something like that. So it's like, yep, he's bankable. Like he's good for into perpetuity at this point. So
cool. So, like, with all these shortened kind of seasons, do you think the winner of this tournament, should they be able to hoist that cup?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Like, is there going to be like a fat asterisk on the cup?
I mean, it's still a tournament. It's still a tournament of the best on best tournament and seeding and everything. I mean, it's truncated, so it's not like going to be a 7-game series front to back with like the seeding really the same as it would be in the regular season and all of the. But I mean, it's a level playing field. Whoever wins will have had the same amount of rest and the same amount of everything and like chance to recuperate and everything. But you could also argue that that's part of the journey to the cup, right? Is like playing a great NHL schedule and then all of the drawbacks and everything that come along with that, and then making it through 4 rounds of 7 games of intensity, which is, I don't think you can really recapture.
You see the cup winners are just beaten. They're happy, but like, fuck, I'm so glad this is over.
That's part of the reason that it's like such a gratifying trophy, because it's the hardest trophy to win, because it's just such a fucking grind. Hockey is a full contact sport. Or I don't even know why full contact is necessary. I heard someone call basketball a fucking contact sport the other day.
There's some contact, but it's not.
I wouldn't consider it a contact sport. But then again, maybe my definition is too narrow. Football, rugby, hockey, lacrosse are contact sports. Anything else, I can't think of anything that would qualify to that level of contact, unless you just want to say that there's full contact and there's contact. And in which case, sport.
Baseball.
Why? You make contact with people sliding into the plate and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but you're not supposed to make contact. It's like accidental or incidental stuff.
It seems like you're not supposed to make contact in basketball either, like at all.
You're not supposed to impede them, but you can. There's charging, right? You can bump into people and they fall down.
Yeah, penalty,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but it's still part of the game.
Yeah, but it's still about what's supposed to happen and what's not supposed to happen, right? Like
It's not like people see LeBron James come up the center like, okay, don't touch him at all.
that kind of seems that way to me now.
Yeah, it does.
I remember what basketball was like when I was a kid.
Oh, when Michael Jordan was playing against like the Pistons,
Yeah.
and they just fucking just take him down from
Yeah.
out of the air, just like slam him on the ground.
Fucking Rodman used to basically body check people.
Yeah.
It's like, so compared to that, like it seems like basically like,
If you even look at LeBron while he's dunking, you get a fucking foul.
yeah, it's like he's driving the lane. We just got to get out of the way. If you can't get a hand on the ball in the first stride, then you need to move. That's the way it seems to me now, and I don't think that's even an unpopular opinion for even people that like basketball. This is like, well, it's like everything is a free throw, like everything, and so it's like, okay, well, but so I guess yeah, maybe baseball's not, but certainly then you can include soccer in contact sports.
I guess.
Tennis isn't, I guess.
Yeah, tennis is not a.
Tennis is not a contact
Bowling.
sport. Bowling is not a sport, so it's not a contact sport. That's true. Badminton, curling.
Yeah, curling. There's contact, but not contact with people.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know. Basketball is just not a contact sport to me. Especially, maybe you could have made that argument like in the 90s. I could say, okay, yeah, because people get scrummed up a little bit, but it seems like that's just gone completely from the game. As much as it's gone from, like, hockey's not nearly as much of a contact sport as it used to be, for sure, or any sport really, for that matter.
Well, most of too, like sports kind of modify it too. Like in baseball, if someone's getting gunned at home, the preferable play for in the middle of the what do they call it? Not the runway.
Plate?
Yeah, over the plate.
Yeah.
They want to be kind of like to the sides where they can tag them rather than just like taking the full brunt. Because they're paying $1 million players, they're getting injured, getting like concussed, and out for half the season. Like, we're going to protect our investment.
Yeah.
So we got to change the way that they play now.
Sprained toe or whatever you get in baseball when someone runs into you.
Yeah, you just rub some dirt, drink a beer, eat a sundae, you're good.
Well, what is it? Like, why does it seem like... Why is it just a lower threshold for like what constitutes injury? Because in hockey and football and rugby, it's like things that like in other sports, certain things would sideline someone, a jammed finger or something in basketball, like sidelines a player. It's like, oh, he's out for 3 games with the hangnail or whatever. And then, but like that would never fly in like football, rugby, or hockey.
Yeah.
Like players, it's like, oh yeah, I had like Crosby played the whole playoff with a broken foot one year. The whole playoffs he played with a broken foot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I broke my foot.
Well, I find that also a curious thing with boxing. If you get caught with an elbow accidentally, people act like they're fucking got shot by a gun.
Yeah.
You see guys in MMA and Muay Thai, they get hit in the fucking nose with that shit. They're like, whatever.
But at least you could make some sort. I guess maybe you can make the argument that if you're not prepared for that level of contact, that maybe it's more blindsiding to you.
Maybe, I don't know.
But it's sort of like getting hit in the nuts, right? Like, sure, the pain is probably no more like excruciating to get. I mean, because no one ever just like full on like punches you in the nuts anymore in fucking boxing or in MMA. So you're just likely to get like grazed a little bit. Certainly, that doesn't hurt more than getting like kicked directly in your face. But it's an unexpected pain that's disorienting. Maybe you can make the argument, but like for like a long-term injury, like is like I'm out for several games because I, jammed my finger. That's literally a thing that happens in basketball. People jam their fingers.
Oh, my favorite thing is knuckleball. I forgot the name of the dude, but he had like a hangnail or he had a nail injury and he couldn't pitch anymore because when you throw a knuckleball, your fingernail's at the seam.
Yeah.
So if the fingernail bed's fucked up, you can't throw that pitch, and that guy can only throw a knuckleball.
Yeah, generally speaking, knuckleball pitchers only throw knuckleballs. It's like what they do.
Yeah, that's their thing.
And so, yeah, I don't get it. I would never fly in like some other sport. Like,
This guy's going to hang now. Just leave him
he's out
alone.
for 4 games. And in football, it's basically like if you're alive, you better get on the fucking field.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, if you're majorly concussed, they're like, just walk it off.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I understand precautions around concussions, especially, but But like, yeah, like you just like certain things, like, oh yeah,
They
like,
just try to like the players would be like, I'm good. Just leave me alone. Just let me get to fighting or not fighting, just the football.
yeah. You know, like Emmitt Smith played a whole Super Bowl, like half of fucking one half of a Super Bowl game with like 3 broken ribs.
Yeah.
And like fucking scored like 3 touchdowns and ran for like 140 yards or some shit like that. It's like,
You got soccer. They kind of rub against you. Ah, get the freezy spray.
yeah, it's notorious. It's like I seriously, it's like so bad in soccer. I don't know how any of those guys have any pride about what they do.
Yeah.
Because it's
How can you look yourself in the mirror?
it's just so fucking embarrassing. And even soccer fans acknowledge it. Like, it's so incredibly bad. And it's like, is it really just of the refs rewarding that shit?
Yeah,
And
I think
that's
they just
why-
gotta just not give people yellow cards or red cards for that shit. Can't reward them for that stuff. Like, well, you got a boo boo, so what?
Yeah. Well, it's predominantly a European game, and they're squishier, faggier type of people.
That's why, like sports like hockey, when you have a problem, you're gonna go fucking fisticuffs. They're
Yeah.
gonna go at it. Not like basketball, where someone does some dirty shit and you just have a big shoving match, and you guys go away and you're suspended for the game. Okay, you're a big tough guy.
Yeah, it's just and
But when you fuck with somebody in hockey, you're gonna get fucked up back.
yeah, there are some people that have a school of thought that fighting should be eliminated from the game, and I don't agree with that because hockey is still a contact sport. So it's like you have brooding resentment for a guy and you can't take it out. Eventually, it will come out. The whole team will take it out on that guy, and they will likely take it out on a guy that's in a far more dangerous way. And like, and don't get me wrong, man. I read this this profile in the New York Times Magazine about Derek Boogaard. You remember that guy, the boogeyman?
Sounds familiar.
He was like a whole new generation of like fighters. And he was just a fucking monster. He was like 6'7", like 240 pounds.
Oh yeah, I do remember. You
And
telling
he
me
just
this,
like
yeah.
fucking kills people, right? It's just like that's his job, is to just kill people. And I mean, serious fighters, like the whole profile like talks about just kind of the psychological and physical toll that takes on you, being that guy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily, I'm sympathetic to not having like one guy that does that and like having that be a specialized role, but it doesn't mean you need to eliminate it from the game. Because like reading that profile and like seeing some interviews with people, like guys that were hardcore fighters too, like guys like George LaRock, was like a fighter. And he basically said that, he was getting a little older and that was his marketability was that he's a fighter. And so he was kind of bouncing around from team to team as just the enforcer. But he was like, yeah, pretty much the reason I retired is just the fear of having to go against somebody like Derek Boogaard. Like having to fight a guy like that was just psychologically stressful, like constantly, and just fear of like having to do that. And that's my job. It's what I'm paid for. So it's like I don't want to be in that position after a while. And so it was a super good piece. But, so I understand the need to like... That's what they do in hockey. It's like specialized, it's compartmentalized, right? There's guys that can score and fight are a rare breed. Guys like Brendan Shanahan or Jerome McGinley who can like, score a goal on you and then like,
beat the shit out of you
fuck
later.
you up after you're like, hey man, that wasn't a cool goal. Like, quit gloating. Like, I'll just fucking beat your ass. Like, fuck off. It's like those guys don't really exist. They're like once every 10 or 15 years you might get a guy in the league that's that talented at both. And so I get it, but I think that over a long arc, you would see a lot more dirty plays along the board. You'd see, especially like when you get a player that is someone like a Claude Lemieux, who is just like a notoriously fucking dirty player. And it's like if someone can't fight that guy, someone's going to take his fucking head off and kill him.
Yeah.
Like it'll kill him. Like it's just like you push him into the boards or something until he just... whatever. Because you just amp up that intensity that way. A player gets hurt or something, and you amp up that intensity, and then suddenly you have that fucking game that the Flyers and the Penguins a few years ago. You remember that? No. Where it was like for both teams, like through 2 periods of play, there was like something like 156 hits.
Oh shit!
Through fucking 2 periods. I think the final total for the game was like north of 200 hits for both teams. It was like 100 hits a team. And that's fucking ludicrously high. Like, I mean, they're just hitting at every single opportunity they can. And it's like, you know, just
line change, hit that fucker.
just frustrating at every turn. And when you, and don't get me wrong, it's great when there's a level of intensity in a team that hits and makes contact. What you're just talking about is bone crunching hits is very evident that there's like some frustration on both ends, and like that level of intensity can't keep up. And if you can't have an outlet for it, then it'll carry over to the next game. Like, fuck that guy, you know, like I'm gonna get him, and like, and then before you know it, it's like somebody ends up fucking getting their head smashed in, and it's like not good.
Well, I think that does it for this week. It was pretty good for not having much.
Yeah, much. You brought some content this week.
Yeah.
It was a Mikey show.
Yeah, I gotta carry that on my back. It's like that cross. Father, why?
That doesn't mean I have to produce this week's episode, does it? Because that might never go up.
Well, I don't know. It's too much, paperwork and shit. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that does it for this week. Got anything else to say?
Come by if you sick. Stay home if you sick. Don't be a fool, eat the gabagool.
Sure.
Sure, I don't know.
I don't know. Take all those things. I'm asking, don't be a dick.
Okay, yeah.
That's
It's my constitutional right to not wear one, though.
Oh, I gotta put this meme, this Star Wars one. You see, like, Luke, take off my mask.
Oh man, I saw this flyer. It was on the gram maybe, and it was a no mask party.
Okay.
And it was like it's your right to gather with other people, and like we're eschewing the social distancing, and like even if you have coronavirus, come by. And it was something like the caption was like, did the virus write this? It's like, damn, that's on point.
You gotta find it so I can post it on there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That does it for this week, guys. Peace.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. Consider subscribing. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. And you can also write us with any ideas, suggestions, or horrible burning criticism at mikeyandthepresspass@gmail.com. Thank you.